What happens when a congressman accuses the Secretary of Defense of lying to Congress about cyber warfare? That's not politics as usual. That's a potential bombshell in America's national security. In one hearing, Congressman Vindman went toe-to-toe with Pentagon leadership, grilling them on cyber operations, China's growing naval dominance, NATO's weakest link, and even the future of drone warfare. But the clash didn't stop there. Families of service members demanded accountability, and Vindman himself faced allegations. Was this about truth and courage, or just another brutal game of Washington power?
I believe that's a classified number, but it's going to go up at a rapid rate.
CMPR report that was released. There's an unclassified number.
It's going up at a rapid rate.
Let me help you out. 435. Let's see if we do better in EUCOM. What corridor in eastern Poland is vulnerable and a priority for U.S. reinforcements? It connects Belarus to a Russian region.
I'm sure you can tell me.
I can tell you. It's the Suwalki Gap. Which heavily militarized Russian territory connected the Suwalki Gap? It contains nuclear-capable missiles. It threatens all of NATO. It's right there in the middle of Eastern Europe.
I see we're playing a quiz game here.
It's
ultimately,
Kaliningrad
thankfully,
Oblast.
we're getting our NATO allies to step up in their spending to make sure that they can hold the
Mr.
line.
Secretary, I asked you a specific question. Thank you. It's Kaliningrad Oblast. So what percentage of Ukrainian frontline casualties, let's talk drones, are now caused by FPV drones?
A very large percentage, and we're studying that conflict closely to understand
I hope so.
that fact.
It's over 70%. And which U.S. service has written doctrine or standardized procurement for integration of FPV drones?
That's the Army.
I wish that were the case, but actually the answer is none of them. So we're not prepared yet, and we need to get there fast. Let me turn to a different topic. A few weeks ago, when my office opened up in Fredericksburg, I spoke to the mother of one F-18 pilot who flew the March 15th mission over the Red Sea in Yemen that you discussed over Signal. I spoke to her again on Tuesday and asked her if there was anything she wanted me to bring up. She believes that you need to resign. She also had several questions, but one thing, she said she would appreciate an apology for putting classified information. Her son couldn't even tell her where the Truman was going, but into the Houthi PC small group signal chat that risked her son's life and the mission. Mr. Secretary, yes or no, do you think you owe her an apology?
Please make sure to let her know how grateful we are for the skill and heroism of her.
I am very much grateful. I'm sure everybody in this room is grateful. I'm proud of what her son has done. The question is, do you owe her an apology for your actions? Are you going to be accountable?
It was an incredibly successful mission. Her son did great work.
They did a magnificent job.
Thankfully, the Houthi campaign was successful.
Secretary, I agree with you. Magnificent job. The performance of those pilots and Navy personnel, magnificent. We're talking about what you did and accountability. Are you going to apologize to the mother or not?
I don't apologize for success.
You don't apologize for putting her son's life in danger and for putting the mission in jeopardy. Well, that's really disappointing and not befitting the type of leadership that our troops and families deserve. It's frankly a stunning lack of OPSEC. Privates are trained to do much better than that. It was reckless. And it sounds like that accountability doesn't extend as far as the Secretary of Defense. So I think you should resign. The mother says she wants you gone. And with that, I yield back.
Gentlemen.
The showdown began with a single explosive question: had the Pentagon secretly paused offensive cyber operations earlier this year? According to one report, yes. But when pressed in front of the committee, the Secretary flatly denied it. That left Vindman with a choice: back off or push harder. He didn't hesitate. He accused the Secretary of misleading Congress, maybe even lying under oath. For a sitting defense secretary, that's not just embarrassing, it's a charge that could unravel trust in the entire chain of command. If true, it wasn't just a bureaucratic misstep. It was a breach of honesty at the very top of national defense. But here's where the irony came in. Vindman himself has been facing growing questions about his own conduct, raising the possibility that his fiery attack wasn't only about accountability, it might have been a deflection from the controversies swirling around him. And that's when the grilling expanded to far more dangerous terrain. Vindman zeroed in on one of the most urgent questions in geopolitics: when will the United States be ready for a potential war with China? The secretary danced around it, careful not to reveal too much. But Vindman wasn't satisfied. He cut him off, saying the Pentagon had already publicly set a date, 2027. That number landed like a thunderclap. It's one thing to talk about readiness as a concept, it's another to pencil in the year on the calendar. By 2027, according to unclassified assessments, the U.S. Navy expects to be prepared to face China. The problem: China isn't waiting. Right now, Beijing has 370 warships, already the largest navy in the world. The United States has 296. By 2030, China is projected to reach 435. The gap is not narrowing, it's exploding. While America debates defense budgets, argues over policy, and sets distant goals, China is launching ships at a pace that signals one thing: confrontation. Vindman framed it perfectly. It's not a corporate milestone review, it's a ticking time bomb. If China is already outpacing us now, how realistic is it to believe the U.S. will be ready in 2027? And if the worst comes sooner, will America be prepared, or dangerously behind? That was the heart of Vindman's warning. But he didn't stop in the Pacific. He turned the spotlight to Europe, where another crisis looms.
Oh.
In front of a stunned committee, Vindman quizzed the secretary about the Suwałki Gap, a narrow corridor between Poland and Lithuania. If Russia were to move through it, NATO's eastern flank could collapse in days. The secretary fumbled. Vindman spelled it out, reminding everyone that the corridor is flanked by Russian territory, bristling with nuclear-capable missiles. This wasn't a geography quiz, it was a wake-up call. NATO's most vulnerable point isn't theoretical, it's right there on the map, and America's leaders need to treat it with the urgency it deserves. And then came the most brutal reality check of the entire hearing. Vindman raised the subject of drones, specifically FPV drones that have changed the face of modern combat in Ukraine. According to battlefield data, more than 70% of frontline casualties are now caused by these drones. That means traditional defenses, armored vehicles, even entrenched positions are being shredded by cheap first-person view machines, guided by operators on the ground. And what has the U.S. military done about it? Vindman asked which branch had written doctrine, or created a procurement strategy, to integrate FPV drones into U.S. forces. The secretary guessed the Army. The truth: none of them. Not one service has formally adopted a plan. At a moment when drone warfare is defining modern battlefields, America isn't even close to ready. That was already a devastating blow. But then the hearing turned personal, emotional, and almost unbearable. Vindman recounted a conversation with the mother of an F-18 pilot who flew a mission over the Red Sea in Yemen. She believed her son's safety had been jeopardized because classified information about the mission had leaked into a chat group. She wanted answers, and above all, she wanted an apology. When pressed, the secretary offered gratitude for the bravery of U.S. pilots, but not a single word of remorse. "I don't apologize for success," he said. It was meant to sound strong. Instead, it sounded cold. To the mother of a pilot who risked his life, it was dismissive, almost cruel. The room grew tense. Vindman fired back, demanding to know why a mother had to beg for basic accountability. He accused the secretary of reckless behavior that violated even the most basic operational security. Privates, he argued, are trained better than that. If those at the top couldn't meet the same standard, then maybe they didn't belong there at all. And then Vindman dropped the hammer. He called for the secretary to resign. It wasn't a symbolic jab. It was a direct demand, echoed by the voice of a military mother who believed her son's life had been put in jeopardy by reckless leadership. The exchange was raw, emotional, and shocking. On one side, the secretary insisted that the mission was a success, and therefore beyond apology. On the other, Vindman and the pilot's mother insisted that accountability matters, that leaders must be held to the same standard as those they command. The clash wasn't just about one mission in Yemen. It was about the character of leadership at the very top of America's defense establishment. By the time the hearing ended, the fault lines were clear. Vindman had grilled the secretary on cyber operations, China's growing navy, NATO vulnerabilities, drone warfare, and a personal demand for accountability. At every turn, the tension grew sharper. But the deeper story wasn't just about numbers, ships, or drones. It was about trust, trust between military leaders and the Congress that oversees them, trust between America's generals and the families whose sons and daughters they command, and trust between the public and the officials who make life and death decisions on their behalf. That's why this confrontation resonated far beyond the walls of Congress, because in the end, the question wasn't whether a Secretary of Defense could handle a tough hearing. The question was whether America's leaders are prepared to tell the truth, accept responsibility, and act with urgency in the face of real threats. Vindman may be controversial. He may even have his own scandals to answer for. But in that moment, he forced a national reckoning on issues too important to ignore. And now the question falls to the rest of Washington: will anyone else have the courage to step forward? Or will this clash be remembered as just another day, when politics buried the truth? Tell us what you think in the comments, and if you found this breakdown eye-opening, don't forget to hit subscribe, because the next video takes on an even more explosive confrontation you won't want to miss.